Every pregnancy needs utmost care and attention. But certain pregnancies need a little extra attention. An RH negative mother carrying an RH positive baby is at increased risk of complications. BSV is at the forefront to ensure safe delivery in every RH negative pregnancy.
Hello and welcome to the mid-match show between Australia and Pakistan. Pakistan have scored 190 for 6. Julia, you mentioned that it's going to be maximum at 180. If not, then Australia bowlers have struggled, and we've reached 190, so you're just there by 10-run mark. Marina, a little far-fetched, 250 did not happen, 190 is what happened. Again, we saw the same, the top order collapse. I will take directly to Marina. Marina, first thoughts, again a top order collapse. Instead of neither other, today we saw Bismah Maroof with Aliya, Riaz, basically doing the same job of scoring the runs with, say, 3 wickets down.
Yeah, definitely. Again, trouble same for Pakistan. I think Sidra Amin, you cannot blame her. It was a brilliant delivery from Perry, but neither was it. That was a very casual shot, given the fact that gully player was there. But yes, crucial partnership from Bismah and Aliya, 99 runs partnership. But I think that again, for a longer format, you need to have something up top. Umaima Suhail again struggling, and my concern mostly for them, and that again has been a technical point, the lack of feet movement, the struggles they're having from technical perspective. But you need to address this. Pakistan needs to address this. There are still games left, but again, I mean, up top, if you're not getting runs every day, it's not going to be Bismah, Nida or Aliya. Players and oppositions will work on them. They will find some weaknesses and they will come with a plan to, make them their target as well. And then Pakistan will have nowhere to run.
Will have nowhere to run. It's kind of, we always say this, cricket is a team sport. Currently in the Pakistan lineup, it does not look like it's a team sport. It is more of an individual thing. But when it comes to Australia, it certainly is a team sport. But the first thing, Julia, you predicted 2 things today. First was 180, it reached out to 190. But the second one, Ellis Perry to complete 10 overs, she only bowled 5. What is that overall thing? Why is Ellis Perry not bowling her quota of overs?
Well, I think it's just, I'm not sure if it's her performance. She probably went for a few more than she was expecting today. And as Marina said, her ball against Min to get her out was a beautiful ball. I just think, I'm just not sure exactly what Meg Lanning's doing at the moment with the rotation of bowlers. You know, she had some other bowlers that were performing really well. Obviously, they had Amanda Jade Wellington, didn't bowl out. She was 1 for 25 off her 8 and causing quite a few issues. Lana King, 2 for 24 off her 9, and she also didn't bowl out her overs as well. So I just think it was interesting that management. I obviously Nicola Carey normally is the one of the finishers, but she's probably moving away from that role now, particularly as a player that's come into the team as a peripheral player, as I mentioned before. She's probably more becoming more of a bat, and she's been doing a great job of that. Just hasn't quite nailed the bowling. Bowled very well though at the beginning in her first spell, however. But I just think they're still trying to work out maybe what's their balance, which ones are they going to play in which roles, and who is going to be that finisher. Because I think Perry I would have loved to have seen Perry come back and just try and finish off that game. Obviously, Bismah Maroof batted very well. Megan Shute went for 12 in her last over, which is a little unusual. However, it was also unusual the field that they had set for her. Like, she swings it away from the left-hander, yet they'd set the whole field on the leg side. So just sort of didn't make sense. So they're still tweaking a few things, I think, Australia. But Pakistan did pretty well there towards the end, really up their strike rates, but were probably a little too predictable in the fact that they didn't really go aerial very much at all. So it made it quite simple for the Australian fielders to push off the boundary, knowing that it was just going to be on the ground, and really know that they weren't going to be punished too much.
Marina, coming to you, does Australia face the problem of plenty? Because you have, say, for example, today they played 6 bowlers. Everyone was bowling well, and probably that's the reason that a few did not finish, like Amanda Wellington bowled 8, King bowled 9, Carey bowled 8, Perry bowled 5. So is it the problem of plenty there in Australia?
Well, at times, yes, you can face that problem being a captain, because there's a lot to choose. And in the warm-up matches, you can see they had been trying round about 8 to 9 bowlers as well. And I was wondering that they're still struggling to find out a perfect combination. But I mean, they can afford, because somewhat each and every one of them has been performing. And again, there's some space left for role defining, like Julia said about Perry, that, and also Nicole, that if they are going to be the finishers from the bowling side. But yeah, when you have that amount of players and slot to select, it's actually a very hard task for captain. But I think as the tournament proceeds, Lanning is a very a vice captain, and she might definitely understand at one conditions against what oppositions, what bowlers can really help her. And I think these sort of games and even the warm-up games might be giving her some bit of idea.
Might be giving her a bit of an idea. The scorecard is running up here now. They've scored 190 for 6. But if we see that first, 10, 20 overs, it did not look like Pakistan is going to go for 190. A lot of talks would have been around, can they even reach out to 100, 120? Again, poor batting from Pakistan, or we can say poor bowling, good bowling from Australia. The top order, Sitra Amin, Nahida Khan, even Nida Dar, Umayma Sohail, everyone getting out, but again steadying the sheep and coming back to form. Bismah Maroof with Aliya Riaz steadied that ship. But once Aliya Riaz got out, we've seen Aliya Riaz takes it to the deep and then scores runs, or then scores at a quicker pace in the last 5. She got out, and then none of Fatima Sana or Diana Baig were able to accelerate, and same case with Bismah Maroof as well. She was not able to accelerate. Probably that was the reason why they did not reach that 220 mark, and they had to settle in for 190 runs in that 50 overs. I'll ask this to Julia. Julia, what is this with Pakistan's top order? What changes would you like to see? We've seen Sanamir tweet that they've used 7 or 8 or 9 batting pairs in the last 15 odd months. That's too much. You're basically chopping and changing a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as I mentioned before, we're talking about the lack of aerial play. Up until they got to, I think it was 100 runs, they'd only hit 2 scoring shots in the air for runs. So it just makes it a little predictable. Obviously, they're trying to be safe and get through early, but at the same time, you look at players like Elisa Healy and Beth Mooney, and maybe not Rachel Haynes. She's probably placed very similar to the Pakistani players in keeping the ball on the ground. But I just think that they can probably be a little more attacking on some of their aerial shots a little sooner. And the other thing is, they also didn't rotate the strike amazingly well, sort of in that first, particularly the power play. They were very much just, it was 4 or nothing. There was no sort of single rotations. And I think that's a big difference with regards to, particularly when you've got a left and right combination when Bismah Maroof came in, to be able to, play around with the bowlers' lines and lengths a little bit. And I just didn't think they took advantage of that single running just to really bolster the fours that they were getting early on in the innings.
Early on in the innings. Marina, coming to you, Julia did mention that Australia have, say, Healy, or India has Shafali at the top of the order. Pakistan have made a big, bold decision not to include the young Aisha Naseem in that squad. Do you feel she could have made that difference either at the top of the order or as a finisher? Because we've seen she clears that ropes very easily, quickly. India has, say, at the top of the order, Shafali or Richa as a finisher. Do you feel somebody like an Aisha Naseem could have been in that World Cup squad and made that difference, which is not happening for Pakistan at the moment.
Well, yes, definitely. I was a bit surprised Aisha Naseem not being in the squad, because not probably at the top of the order, but in the middle order or at the end of the innings, she could have definitely made an impact. And she was on the right track, developing. You cannot expect a lot from her because she is quite young. But if you have watched the series against South Africa, she played brilliantly and she was maturing with time. So I think you need to sort of give some cushion to youngsters like that who are improving in bits and pieces. But yes, that could have been a good decision for also Aisha Naseem and also for Pakistan. But it's done now. And coming back to the point about shuffling, I think a lot has to do about the players itself, because I had been the part of selection committee and I've seen players given consistent chances at domestic and also at international levels, but no one was turning out to be the perfect person to open for Pakistan. They were doing in bits and pieces, but again, I also had a kind of talk with them. You need to have a certain basic technical techniques and a certain footwork to excel at international level, because you will face best of the bowlers, you will face brilliant fielding oppositions, and you will get exposed. If you look at the Pakistani top order, again, I just mentioned that they struggle a lot in technical sides. And when you're not that technically sound, if you're having a bad phase, it's very hard to get over it and across it and score runs. So I think, yes, a lot has to do about players' performances, also some management decisions, but now it's too late for them. All they can do is just, I hope that they not bring the middle order up front. That would be the worst thing to do for them, because they're well settled in. All they need to do is they've got Maniba on the bench. Sidra Amin is there. Javeria, we hope that she can probably come back in. But they need to focus on strengths and probably go into nets, do some basic practices, understanding the oppositions and the conditions, and come up with a certain plan, because they have to play the games and they are there to make a point. They just cannot stroll around.
Let me ask you, you've been a part of the selection panel. Considering all of the domestic players that are available and the players right now in this 15-18 squad, uh, who are your best two openers that you would have played at the World Cup? We've already seen two matches, two different opening combinations. Who would have you would have chosen that? Oh, okay. In terms of technique or whatever, these are the two best openers available for Pakistan at the moment.
Well, I think firstly I would have gone for Javeria. She did open against India, but actually did not click. But I've seen her, I've played with her. Whenever she opens, she plays more freely and attacking cricket. Other than that, unfortunately, at the domestic level, even no player has stood up and turned out to be a good positive opener. But if you talk about intention, Aisha Zafar would have been a good option. She likes to play attacking cricket. She's not shy of go aerial, what Julia was pointing out, and it does make a lot of difference at international cricket. So yeah, I think probably I was expecting a bit more from Naida, but she is a lot in her shell as well. And again, repeating same old mistakes. He hasn't learned from them. So these are small things that actually at the end can, sum up and reflect on your performances. But for me, if it has to be, I think I would have selected Aisha Zafar.
Would have selected Aisha Zafar. I just feel it's more of a mental block which Pakistan needs to get out of. That let's play to win rather than that cautious attitude of, oh, okay, we need to score at least a bit of runs. No, we need to score for winning. We're not here. It's not test cricket. It's not about getting a draw and basically having equal points or something like that. I'll come to Julia. Julia, if you see, Australia did start well. They took those 4 wickets pretty quickly. And four went to four different bowlers, Shoot, then Perry, then King, then Wellington. But after that, they were not able to capitalize. Something similar what Pakistan did against India as well. Pakistan took their 5 or 6 wickets very quickly at that 114 run mark. But after that, they were not able to capitalize. It went till 215. Here, in the same situation happened, and that's probably the reason why Pakistan went till 190. Otherwise, if one more wicket would have come, Pakistan would have been whatever bundled out for 100, 120. What do you feel Australia needs to change in order to get that thing, because they have certainly bigger games coming up?
Yeah. I personally would say that I think they just need to allow their bowlers to have quite a longer spells and be able to work on a little bit of patience. I think we get too carried away with the whole T20 sort of style and trying to get the wickets all the time, and by changing the field and the bowlers all the time. And I think what we need to do in the 50 over game is, your low economies can actually create a wicket. You don't actually have to do something as the bowler that's going to be, and change them around every 3 minutes to try and get the wicket. And that's what it seemed like a little to me. They were just trying too hard to get the wicket. And in fact, sometimes if they're going at 2s and 3s, which they were for quite an extended period, and then she kept changing it. There was a period between the 20th over and the 26th over, and they went for 12 runs. So they're going at 2 and over. Keep that going, because the batters have to do something. I mean, Australia should be happy that if they're only going for 2 and over, they should be happy with that. Doesn't matter if they're not actually getting the wickets. They're doing one or the other. They're containing or they're taking wickets. Sometimes you can do both. But if they're containing, those wickets will come eventually, because the batters have to actually score the runs. So to me, I'd just like to see slightly longer spells, a little bit of patience with the switching around of bowlers all the time from Meg, and just a little bit of patience of letting players get into their spells, bowling in good areas, and being challenged to see if batters will actually do something to negate the economy rates of some of the bowlers.
Economy rates need to be taken into consideration. More patience from Meg Lanning is needed on the field, is what Julia prescribes. I feel another point. Let's move on to a bit of good things. Of course, we've talked about a lot of the negatives. Let's move on that bigger things. Amanda Jade Wellington makes her return. Beautiful bowling, 8 overs. A wicket to her name, and that wicket was really, really good. That 8 overs, a maiden, 25 runs, and a wicket. That wicket was really good. Julia, what are your first thoughts? That leg spin, King and Wellington bowling in tandem, and Wellington making her big return, which was expected, and we did see that a lot of people say they're 2 leggies, but they're 2 very different leggies.
Very much, yeah. Alana King is a lot quicker through the air. Got one to really absolutely rip. Normally she gets good turn, but not like amazing turn. Where Amanda Jade Wellington, because she's a little slower through the air, just allows it a little bit more flight, and also for the grip and turn. So she does get a lot of stumpings, encouraging players to come out and try and hit her down the ground. Which you saw Riaz absolutely belt one ball. It was amazing off King, in fact. So she decided pretty early, but I thought both of them bowled really, really well. Maybe Amanda Jade Wellington was a little too full, which just meant it wasn't going to be turning quite so much. She just needs to bring back her length a fraction. But yeah, their wickets were fantastic. There's certainly a little bit in it for the spinners, and I'm sure Pakistan will note that and be bowling their spinners pretty early.
They'll be bowling their spinners pretty early. We saw that against India. They opened with Diana Baig and Anam Amin. And that's generally been the case, especially in T20s. Marina, let's come down to the positives for Pakistan. We've seen top order, of course, collapses, but Aliya Riaz is a consistent. She always makes you runs. We've seen in 15 months, if there is one consistent player that Pakistan has had, it's Aliya Riaz. Take us through what has happened after that pandemic has started. Pandemic might have been worse for the world, but it has been the best thing for Aliya that has happened.
Well, actually, a lot of young players come in, they play international cricket, and they start to settle in it. All the experience, all the pressure and expectations as well. Actually, I do have a regular chat with Aliya, and I remember talking to her like a year and a half back, and she was playing a practice match at I think it was Karachi, and she actually got out in her 40s, and she came out and she was sitting alone, and I went and I had a talk with her that what happened, and she said that I'm not happy with my performance. I have started to realize that it's not just about playing international cricket. It's like going there, taking responsibility and making your presence count. And again, it has a lot to do from the captain you're playing under. Bismah Maroof has that attitude. She likes to take the challenge and lead from the front. And many young players coming under her wing, Fatma Sana, you can see, Diana Baig, Aliya, Riaz, they have started to realize the worth of that star on their chest. And that actually started to change, because whenever after that match she went on the field, she made sure that either she's winning matches or at least creating an impact. And it probably can be a blessing in disguise that drop order wasn't working, because again, as I mentioned earlier, especially for Nida and Aliya, to become that sort of player, to get that character and going to make and play for Pakistan and make match winning innings, that is really important. And that actually has done really good for Aliya Riaz. She's matured enough. Initial nerves today, I would say, under pressure, but again, Bismah was present there, so she continuously was talking with her. And that's the sort of thing you need in your whole team. So I think the young players coming in with Bismah Maroof around, it's actually a really good thing. But again, it's all about team environment and how they can implement and take their skills right into the middle and help Pakistan win.
Well, Pakistan win. The other point which you have already mentioned, and I had mentioned it in the pre-show, that Bismah Maroof has already been trending off the field. She needs to be trending on the field as well, and that is what she did today. A good 78 not out of 122 balls, 8 fours to her name. And especially, I love that. When she hit that 50, she went towards Fatima, her baby, and she showed that cradle celebration. That was lovely to see. I feel these are things that make cricket a much better place. And I feel the return of Bismah Maroof on the field as a captain and now as a batter is going to really change things for Pakistan. Marina, you to start, and I'll continue this conversation with you as well.
I mean, for a Women's Day, that clip was everything anyone wants to see. I mean, it's not easy, and I have huge respect for her husband, for her family. It's never easy, but we all know how Bismah is. I mean, she's a fighter, and again, she actually makes everything count whenever she is playing for Pakistan. Tremendous effort today out in the field. Again, under pressure, she's used to it. But coming back as a mother and doing it in front of her child, that's a whole different added pressure and experience. But yes, I mean, it's all positives you can pick out of her innings, of her celebrations, and the way she walked back on the field. That's a global message for women, that you can do everything at any age, under any circumstances, if you're committed, if you're a hardworking person, and if you really want to do. So, I mean, I've seen her journey since she started her career. I've seen her grow into a captain, now becoming a mother and coming back. And I mean, all hats off to her. It's a tremendous journey, and many more to come, I'm sure.
Julia, you'll continue this.
Yeah, well, exactly what Marina said. It's fantastic to see. You've obviously got Amy Satterthwaite out there as also a mother who's come back, and her daughter gets passed around quite a bit as well everywhere. It's the most. I think Bismah's daughter is the most photographed baby in the world at the moment. So, but it's a great thing, and it's so good that I think it's funny how it's such a uniting thing. And to be able to come back and captain your country and put in a performance like she did today was absolutely fantastic. And sometimes, by having a baby, it gives you that balance in life and a bit of perspective. And sometimes you can become a better player because you just get that understanding of, cricket isn't the be all and end all. You actually should be out there enjoying it. And I think by having her daughter there will be a real leveler for her and potentially for the rest of the squad as well. So, yeah, it's an amazing thing to see, and it's fantastic, and more of it, hopefully.
More of it, and hopefully it's International Women's Day. Bismah Maroof makes her on-field return 6 months after having the baby, takes her baby to New Zealand, and hits her first 50 on International Women's Day in front of her own mother and her baby. Nothing goes better than this particular moment today that we've witnessed. I myself am surrounded by two inspiring women today. Let's come come back to the chase. 191 Australia to chase. What they've done against England, we've already seen. They have one of the most daunting batting lineups. It's already till number 9, everyone bats, or 8 or whatever we say. I don't know. King, Wellington, and Shoot may be the only 3 who are okay-ish batters, but the other 8 are going to be crazy. Julia, what do you feel? How many overs should Australia take to chase this down? Is what I'll ask.
Yeah, that is a tough one because obviously we know it's going to take some turn. There's some fantastic bowlers from Pakistan. Australia, we've only played them. I think this is our 12th time, so it's not they've played Pakistan a lot. So I think they'll maybe not Elisa Healy. She's never that cautious. She just goes with her game and her strengths. But I think, and we have also mentioned that Meg Lanning also just has hit 3 centuries at this ground, but not against Pakistan. And the attack from New Zealand, where she got those 300s, where is completely different. So I think it'll probably take them a reasonable amount of time. I think it could be around that sort of 40 over mark, because I think they'll be a little cautious and making sure that they get through. They may have, if they're going all right, they may also have a little bit of a batting order change just to make sure that they're getting people having hits in the middle. Elise Perry has had a massive hit. She had a very brief one the other night. So, I mean, she's at 4 anyway. But, I just think they certainly won't be thinking it's done and dusted. They know they have to go out there and get these runs. And Meg Lanning said herself after the win the other night, even though it wasn't the perfect win and they'd learnt a lot of things, it is about just getting the points in a World Cup game, assessing it and moving on. So I think they'll definitely be looking at making sure before they get too funky about anything that they'll make sure that they get those 191 runs and get the points, and then reassess how they can continue to improve in the tournament.
So Julia says they'll still take whatever 40 overs to chase down that 191. Marina, what is something now Pakistan have a great bowling lineup compared to their batting. We all know that. And especially with Anam Amin, Nashra Sandhu and Nida Dar, I feel they're just going to push the spinners up front directly. And maybe bowl less of Diana Baig and Fatima Sana. What do you feel Pakistan should be doing in order to restrict Australia to whatever possible, and even potentially try and win? Of course, they should be trying to win.
I think Diana and Anam Amin will be starting the proceedings for Pakistan like against India. And yes, they need to be consistent. Again, bowling is their strength. They shouldn't be worrying about what the result can be. All they can do is focus on the process, try to contain them. Fielding will play a huge role because we all know that Australian batters, they do come out and they do like to take their strike rate into consideration, and they play attacking cricket. So they are not going to hold back. So what they can do is just to be consistent in their line and length, field well. And again, spinners have a crucial role to play. I don't think that they might be holding off Diana or Fatma Sana, but from one end, there will be consistently one spinner. Nashra, Nida can be a bit more disciplined with her bowling. Nashra was again brilliant. Anam Amin started off really well with Diana. So they need to be repeating what they did against India. But yes, at the death overs, at the middle overs, they can be more disciplined and again feel better to just try and sort that pressure around Australian batters. Otherwise, I think they're going to fight it, but Australia, I don't think they would mind chasing it down into like 40 or 42 overs, like Julia said.
Field better, that clearly tells me that they should have one bowler. They should have Sidra Nawaz, the keeper, and they should have 9 Diana Baigs on the field because she's by far their best fielder. And that is the only way Pakistan can potentially stop the gaps that Australia like to hit. They don't generally go a lot over the top, except for Alisa Healy. The others don't generally go a lot over the top. But that is what will be needed from Pakistan. The innings is about to start. It's already started. I think so. That is what, Julia predicts Australia should do it in 40 overs. Marina wants Pakistan to restrict Australia to whatever possible. Let's see what happens in the match. We will again meet you guys at the post show here on the Outside View. Till then, bye-bye.